What is up, boys and girls? Welcome to a new video. This week we are doing like a bit of a boosted LS week. Should be good fun. Unfortunately, this week we also have to move house, and my missus and my young fella also have COVID, so I'm going to be in and out a fair bit, but I'm going to try and document stuff as much as I can. So it's leading up this weekend is Power Play Queensland, or the rescheduling of Power Play Queensland due to the fact that the last one got rained out, and we're going to try and get at least this one to Power Play as well as the other one, and the one behind it maybe. We'll see how we go. So first off the bat, we've got ourselves here a lovely blue VZ Ute. So this is a stock bottom VZ LS1, cammed, all the rest of it. We've got a Pulsar G42 and some funny wastegate positioning and a bit of a funny screamer. There's a few things that are a bit funny on it, but we're just going to pretty much see how it goes with it all. So this one we're going to try and get done this week ASAP to get him to Power Play. So this one will just be on 98. We've got an eBoost 2 controlling boost, which we've had to revise a lot of the plumbing for, but this is ready to go on the dyno this morning. So I figured it'd be good to do a lot of these just this week back to back, all in the same video. A lot of them are very different setups, so it's not really a full comparison, but for all of you that are wondering, you know, it's all data to put in the data bank. So stock bottom VZ LS1 with the G42 Pulsar. He's only got a 3-inch exhaust, but he does have a pneumatic valve in the exhaust that opens just behind the front wheel, and it opens off pressure. Obviously it's pressure related, so you know, once it gets to a certain boost pressure, it opens the valve and dumps the exhaust there, so that will help it out a bit. Aside from that, the 3-inch exhaust is probably what's going to hold this up, but we're shooting for 600 at the wheels. This one's manual on 98 through the Pulsar. So this one here, we've got ourselves a really nice clubby. Really like this color. Beautiful car. I really like the bonnet even though it's a Ford hump. I actually really like it. So this one's the same stock bottom, but this is an earlier Gen 3 LS1. So the VZ has the Gen 4 rods, which helps it out quite a bit. This one's got the earlier Gen 3 rods in it, but same thing, stock bottom LS1. This one's a Crow Cams 1249, which is a really nice little cam. As these guys know, I'm a huge fan of the 1250 for cathedral ports. The 1249 is just a little bit smaller and a little bit of a tighter lobe, but to go with the turbo, it's going to be great. So this was aspirated for long time aspirated. He's finally gone boost. It started out as a spool and boost kit, I think. So they've revised it quite a bit, remade quite a bit of it. This one's got what appears to just be an eBay GT45, but we've got, you know, 3.5-inch exhaust and all the rest. This one has just a little 35mm or 38mm, sorry, Turbo Smart gate off the turbo housing. It's also on the back side of the volute, not the start of the volute. So not sure how this is going to go controlling boost. It's another one of those things where we've just got to see how it goes. But the rest of the setup looks awesome. This one we're going to be trying to do flex fuel, so it's still the P01 Gen 3 PCM, but we found we've been through all the operating softwares, the OSs for the P01. We reckon that we can do flex fuel in this one, so we've got a flex fuel sensor up there, but we're going to try and do full flex on a Gen 3 PCM, and once again see how it goes. Once again manual, and once again shooting for 600 horsepower at the wheels. Happy to do 600 at wheel on E85 with this Gen 3 stock bottom end, so happy days. So that's these two, and then the VY 1-tonner that we built the supercharged 383 for, it's also back this week, just for a bit of a cleanup and a bit of a check over prior to Power Play. So yeah, we'll see what we can do this week on all these turbo LSs, boosted LSs. Yeehaw, I really do like this car, I really do. So it's just sort of funny how this all worked out. Managed to get a few turbo or boosted LS books in this week, and next week we actually have 2 cam kits to do on aspirated LS plus another aspirated LS tune. So it's just been sort of handy to be able to book a few of these same sort of jobs in the same week. Makes it just a bit easy to get through, I feel. But anyway, Rex spent the afternoon on the VZ yesterday. Like I said, getting the boost control sorted. This one still needs a bit of work. We've got to change the injectors over. So the old trusty computer has decided to boot up this morning, which is nice. Still got to sort out the other computer, but yeah, at least it's working. Righto guys, I've been out and about all day sorting stuff out with this new place and going for a grocery shop and stuff because the missus can't. But I got back and this is on jack stands, which is not an ideal thing to see, but this is what we've got, what we're working with. So it killed a fuel pump. Fuel pump's dead.
That came out.
So those came out, there was no heat shrink and they were touching.
So that there is the last vestige. So he's just used, he has used normal heat shrink, but obviously it's just been...
I'm not even sure if the owner actually did all these modifications because I believe it was at another shop.
Yeah, okay.
But,
well, that's obviously wrong heat shrink. And
yes,
that is, I believe,
wrong
500 series hose, which is not supposed to be submerged.
So this is a really good opportunity for, I know for people who have been around the channel for a long time, we do sound like a broken record, but 9 out of 10 times cars come here, they have issues, it's fuel related. 9 out of 10 cars that have issues is something to do with the fuel pump, whether it be wiring related or just plain dead fuel pump. 9 out of 10 cars that go on this dyno have fuel issues that need to be rectified. And here is a good example of a few things you need to look out for. So firstly, regular heat shrink is not rated to be able to put into fuel. You need a special chemical resistant heat shrink, it's called DR25 heat shrink. You can buy it from special places that we keep it in stock here. But if you just use regular heat shrink and put it in fuel, what's going to happen is it's going to expand and shrink until it either just disintegrates or it just expands and drops down on the wire and it disappears. So there very well could have been heat shrink on both of them, but by now it's obviously gone. The second thing is most fuel hose, things like Aeroflow 400 series, 500 series, you know, they're rated to have fuel inside the fuel hose, but they are not rated to be submersed in fuel. You will find over time that fuel will break down the outside of the hose. It'll end up all rubbery and goopy and gross to the point where eventually there's pretty much nothing left and it will burst eventually. So you need to use submersible fuel hose as well, so that the actual hose, that the outside of the hose that it's made out of is rated for the fuel also. So 2 things to look out for there that are pretty important, which we found here. But Rex is saying it's interesting. It looks like this is obviously shorted out, these 2 pins, which obviously the heat shrink is not maintained. And Rex is saying that the fuel pump fuse is fine and we've got power still back to the back here. So it hasn't actually blown the fuse or killed the relay or anything, but it has just obviously fried the pump. There's no pump.
Yeah. I haven't seen that. It's weird.
It is strange.
But yeah, like Dad, I just checked it then. There's power, still power back to here. So it's just, so that was what happened. It didn't even, like it didn't stop on me. I just, I went to make a couple of changes, shut it down, flashed it back in, and then it refused to restart.
Yep.
And like at first I was like, well, like, because normally when you have no fuel pump, you can get that from like a failed flash.
Yeah.
I was like, the flash went fine, the scanner was scanning, everything was mint, just had no fuel pressure.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, checked the relay. The relay, you could hear it clicking. I was turning it on and off with the scanner, but tried a different relay as well. Checked the fuse, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, cool. And then so I had to just start moving back. And then I had to get the tub liner out, which I wasn't too impressed about. The battery relocation just stuck the 4 bolts through, and I had nylock nuts on the bottom. So I had to stick my hand through that hole somehow and get like 2 of them back here. Like it hurt to try and get the battery tray out.
Yeah, it might nutset that, eh?
Oh, definitely. I already made that decision. Yeah, it's happening.
Go ahead and nutset that when it goes back in.
Yeah, I'm not putting it back together. Like, I don't know how. I don't even know how he managed to do that. He must have done it the same way I got him undone. But anyway. Or, well, actually not him, whoever did it.
Yeah,
if it wasn't the owner.
But anyway, we'll have to...
So, like I said, I'm not even sure. I don't even know what this pump is, so...
You wouldn't read about it. Car that we put on the dyno that has fuel pressure issues. Fuel issues.
I was like... When I had no fuel, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Like I said, guys, 90%, at least 90%, and that's not a joke.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put money on that being an actual...
Yeah, actual figure, 90%. But obviously, particularly petrol cars, you know. Petrol cars that have been modified fuel systems, 9 out of 10 of them have issues. But anyway, we'll get it sorted. We always do. That's why we keep DR25 heat shrink in stock and submersible fuel line in stock. Righto, so we got a little bit further into it and we find the very obvious second issue with what's going on, and that is the pump is an Aeroflow pump. Literally 100% of Aeroflow pumps that have come through the shop have failed. 100%. rate of failure. But that is maybe have something to do with the issue. It is strange that it would arc out and not blow a fuse, but anyway, who knows? Maybe it didn't even do anything like that. Maybe the pump just died, because they do have a habit of doing that.
Oh yeah, here's what happened to the last ones.
Yep.
So.
Righto guys, so I missed the reassembly because I had another customer dropping off another car, but Rex got a Raceworks 340 LPH pump in the hangar, and obviously it's now all done correctly with the R25 heat shrink and proper submersible fuel hose and everything else. So we're back ready to go again. The 340 LPH will be plenty enough to supply this thing with enough fuel to do what we want to do, and Raceworks warrant their pumps even for E85. So you know, as far as I'm aware, they're the only fuel pump manufacturer that will actually do that, will warrant a fuel pump for E85. So we'll start getting this all back together now, and then we'll try and get going on it again. Righto guys, so just got a little bit further along, and sounds like now it's run out of fuel. The gauge was saying that it had fuel in it, but it's gone dry, there's no fuel pressure, but the pump's definitely working. So seems as though it's just run dry fuel. So we'll get some more fuel in it tomorrow. We're out of time today. But Rex was just saying that with the new fuel pump, he's pretty much had to start the fuel map again. So obviously the old fuel pump was struggling at the pressure it was at to keep fuel up. Whether it was the pump or the wiring, don't know, but either way the system was not right, and obviously unfortunately with only a mechanical gauge at the reg in the engine bay, there's no way for a tuner to know when he's here on his own, because I was out all day. So you know, that's unfortunately how it goes. Tell you what, when we there's so much we've learned over the years that we've been tuning now, that when we get another dyno setup, when we finally upgrade to a hub, there's going to be so much, so many things that are going to be standard part of the dyno setup. So we'll make sure that you can actually see fuel pressure on the dyno somehow. We'll have some sort of adaptation and everything else so that all that data is displayed. But anyway, so far so good with that new pump. Just get some fuel in this thing tomorrow and should be on the home stretch. So happy days. So unfortunately tomorrow I'm also going to be out for most of the day. I've got heaps of stuff to run around and get places, more errands to run. So tomorrow's also pretty much a write-off for me. So hopefully I'm back in time to get some power runs of this thing on the dyno, but it's just going to be what it's going to be. Rightio guys, I've just got back from another day of just running errands. I've been out all day. It's 3:30. So I just got back. Rex has been, amongst other things he had to do today, he didn't quite get to this thing until after lunch, just because of all the other crap we have going on. But did get to this thing on the dyno, and we've got issues. Firstly, boost control. This thing does have boost control problems. Nothing we can't tune around, but it's not going to be nice. Because of where that gate is on the crossover, I think I explained that at the start, but yeah, the gate's on the crossover before the crossover comes into the passenger side manifold. So there's nothing to divert gas right at the turbo or the volute. There's nothing even to divert the gas from this manifold. All of the gas is being diverted from the crossover, which is underneath. So what Rex is having is, no matter what he does with the E-boost or how he tries to tune it out, we are getting just a spike. There is just a spike there, and pretty much the fact is that most likely as the gate's opening, there's already so much gas that's gone past it. There's already so much gas in the passenger side manifold that it's really having a hard time actually, you know, diverting enough gas to keep boost consistent. So as you can see here, this is our boost curve, which is, you can see the dip in it at all boost levels. It's got that dip, it's got that spike. Well, the spike is more so the issue, which Rex has spent a long time this afternoon trying to sort out with the e-boost, and it just hasn't worked. So the second issue we have is fuel once again. So Rex, yesterday afternoon, after we sorted out that fuel pump, we actually ran out of fuel, just ran it dry. It was out of fuel. So put some more fuel in it this morning, and then Rex obviously was tuning for a bit, and the same thing started to happen, just started to get really lean, and then like lean, which as you can see here, on this red run, you can see what's going on. Lean, right? That's like 13.5s. Obviously Rex has gotten out of it straight away, but that's not nice. So what we've worked out is actually going on, because when Rex changed the fuel pump yesterday, I noticed that they put, because what they've done is obviously they've made it a return style instead of a deadhead, and they've removed the internal reg from the pump hanger when they've put the aftermarket pump in it. But the way these pots work is they regulate fuel, and then out of the regulated fuel, it runs through these tubes, and they act like a venturi, and they actually draw fuel into the pot, and that's how these hangers work. So what they've done is remove the internal reg, they've plugged that tube just into this hole on the hanger in there, but it's not a tight fit and it's not actually working. So what's happening is that as soon as the pump drains the pot, this swell pot down and it's drained enough fuel so the fuel level drops below the top of the swirl, there's nothing to draw fuel into the pot, and it's just running dry. It's just draining the pot. So fuel gauge is saying,
which is basically anything under about half tank.
Yeah.
With that shape of that fuel tank.
Yeah. So the fuel's, it's saying it's half full, which is right, but it's draining the pot and going lean. Which obviously he wants to take it to power play this weekend, and you can't go to power play like that. It'll end up just going lean, as you saw there. 13.5s if he was on the front straight doing a pull, racing to one of his mates. And I went 13.5s on a stock bottom end on cast pistons. You know, it's melted. The damage is done. It's done. It's finished. So can't go to the racetrack like that. So Rex has worked out on these. If you take out the internal regulator, you can drill down the inside. We can probably just put a regular regulator back in and basically hook it all back up. But it should just basically go past the regulator and straight down the tube.
Yeah. So I cut this one open, thinking I'd just put it in without the spring. But my concern is whether that diaphragm, because that's just sandwiches the diaphragm, you know, same as a wastegate. My concern is just that could come loose, though I don't think it would.
Push out.
So I was looking at maybe just tack welding that on the top, but I don't know. But then I was just looking at it and I realised that an easier way to do it, because all it does is, the way this goes together, it sits in there like that, so the fuel comes in there, enters all of those tubes, and then pushes on the diaphragm until it opens at 60 psi, and then it just diverts it
Back down the center
like that, which is what that little seal, and then you've just got that gauze filter. Like Max said, I've just worked out if I just drill that down level and we just basically trim that back, then we can just stick them back in the top with that, which just seals it, stops the fuel from coming this way, and just basically same thing, just forces it all down the pitot tube, but just at 0 psi straight from the return in the engine bay.
So that's our fix for now, to get this thing, hopefully get this issue sorted and get him to the racetrack this weekend.
And I'll put that spring.
Yeah, put the springs back in it.
That's missing it. So that was my fault. We were a rush yesterday, and I knew something wasn't right. Not being, like, we don't really mess with these factory modules very much. And I didn't sort of pick up on it yesterday when I should have. And then I realised before, when I was driving, I just knew. I thought, oh, I think I know
what it's going to be.
I remembered putting that back together, and I was like, fuck, I know what's missing now. As soon as I got back, yeah, grabbed this, and as soon as I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's the...
Anyway, that's just something we're going to have to sort out, try and get into the racetrack though, and we'll just do our best with this boost, and that's going to be basically this car sorted. So anyway, things never go right, things never go smoothly, but hey, it is what it is. We'll get into power play. It's only cost us 3 days. Righto guys, so you can see here, they've just cut the end of the tube off and just tried to return it into the pot. And yeah, without that Venturi properly set up, it just wasn't working. Wasn't doing it right.
Just like that tube basically just pointing down
into
there,
the hole.
Which is not
enough.
Work.
So because they've cut it off the tube, it's way too hard to transfer the tube over. The easiest thing is to actually just transfer the pump into this hanger and just put the whole new hanger in. So that's what we're going to do, and that should get us out of trouble. Just spoke to the owner and basically gave him our recommendation of putting a surge tank in. He reckons that was his next move, so he's planning on doing that anyway. So yeah, he didn't do any of these modifications. These are all done elsewhere. So, but anyway, we'll try and get it sorted so they can go to power play this weekend. Righto guys, not quite going to work how we thought. That post that Rex was drilling down that we thought we could just remove to allow fuel to go into it, it won't work because the strainer is meant to go on the post, and it is what actually seals to the O-ring, which seals it into this little receiver. So without the centum, without that that gauze filter, there's no way to actually seal that regulator unit into it, which means you're just going to bypass fuel back around the back side of it. So back to plan A, which was Rex cutting open that regulator, removing the spring, and then basically tacking it back up, which basically just means that fuel will pass through the regulator exactly as it would from factory. It's just that there's no spring there to actually hold it shut, so it should just bypass all of the fuel, which obviously should work the same way. But yeah, we need to leave that little post inside that little receiver because it needs it to seal.
Now my next hope is just that this can bypass enough that it's not going to cause
bottleneck
back pressure in the return line and start doing something with the base fuel pressure.
Righto, so Rex just drilled that internal return out as much as possible, as much as he could. So it's going to divert as much fuel as it possibly can. So it's either going to work or it's not. So we'll find out.
Hey guys, so Max has gone home, but I just thought I'd take the opportunity. I'll do my best to film this on my own just to show exactly what we meant with this concept. It seems to be working. So you can see, sort of see down there, fuel's covering that that module at the moment. If I lift it up to here, as you can see, I don't know if you can see the side of it there, but it's basically down around about there. Now, just watch this as if I can hold the GoPro with one hand and the module, and I will turn the fuel pump on. You can see how that is actually keeping that whole surge pot completely full, even when I lift it up this high. So that's what that's the concept there, is that this should fix our problem, and that is because of that pitot tube actually going into the sorry, it's late. Like, yeah, the pitot tube's actually drawing fuel into the bottom of the module, and keeps it full so that when the fuel level drops. So I really hope that that's going to fix our fuel problem issue. So there was a lot of mucking around, but hopefully I think that's got it fixed.
Righto guys, once again, I apologise for not being here to actually get footage of what's going on, because today we're moving house. So Rex came over this morning to try and get this thing sorted before power play. Anyway, high boost, clutch is getting very unhappy. Even on low boost, clutch is getting very unhappy. This clutch is not up to the task of what this car's trying to do. So we're pretty much out of clutch, and on high boost, it's still having issues with fuel pressure up in the top end. So really just needs a new fuel system. We've done what we can to get it out of here. Unfortunately, there's only so much boost we can run with what we've done. Obviously, it's causing some problems. It just really needs a revised fuel system, a proper surge and everything else. Not only that, but it obviously needs a new clutch. So we highest run Rex managed a 540, but that was again, the clutch was not super happy there.
And you can see that's where this bit right here.
Yeah, starting to get lean.
That's where I got out of it.
So 540 on, what were we out there, about 11 pound?
Yes.
About 11 pound, 540 with the clutch slipping. So it's looking pretty good as far as once it's sorted, it's going to be a pretty good setup.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Like
so that's your 540, and that was only at, I think, about 5,000.
Yeah, before you had to button off. So that's going to be quite a good power curve. So it's a good old G42. I did think when he bought it here, I thought the G42 is probably a bit excessive and large for a 5.7.
At about 56. But it's got that's no timing yet. That's very no timing.
Very conservative at this point. Didn't get far enough to really lean on it. So
on
low boost,
on high boost, it's not getting full boost until about sort of 4,600.
Yeah, it's not too bad though. Not as bad as I thought it would be. But on low boost, the fuel seems alright. The clutch is still unhappy. So low boost is what, 4 pound, 5 pound?
Yeah, 3.5, 4.
3.5, 4. And it was doing about 450. But with the clutch getting unhappier and happier, it's around about 430, 440. Is that right?
No, it's at 450.
Oh, it's at 450.
It was around 470. Closer to 480.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that at 11 pound with some timing and a clutch that's going to hold up, the thing will probably be pretty close to 600, which was the goal. So that's pretty awesome. Anyway, at this stage, there's not much more we can do with it. In the time frame that we have, we really have to go move house. So I'll call the customer. I'll just let him know that if he wants to, he can take it on low boost and keep it full of fuel. We can't guarantee anything the way the fuel system is, and yeah, this clutch is going to do what this clutch is going to do. There's not much else we can do about it. So I'll give him a call and we'll go move house. Yes. So the other car that was here, which I was hoping to get footage of as well, as you saw the clubby, but the VY 1 tonner that we built with the Harrop 2300 blown 383 stroker in it, based off a 5.7, is here. He is going to power play. So he had an issue not long after we finished tuning it last time. I think it went 670 wheel. I think it was around 670 through the turbo 400 and the 9-inch. So it's here as well. So he had a bit of an issue with some transient acceleration, some transient fueling, a bit of a flat spot, which Rex fixed a few weeks after that tune. But ever since Rex fixed the transient, it's had a terrible cold start, a terrible issue with cold start. It keeps killing plugs. And it was really, really strange. We were like, well, you know, why would this thing keep killing plugs? So he bought it here for us to sort that out before he goes to power play, so it doesn't keep killing plugs and causing issues. And he also wants us to put some big onsong stickers on it for him. So anyway, what Rex found was when it got here, he was checking the cold start. It was literally on cold start demanding from the injectors a 630% duty cycle. So he was pretty much just holding the injectors wide open. Honestly, it's lucky that it didn't hydrolock. Now, nothing in the tune was funny. Nothing in the tune. There was nothing in the actual tune for like the maps or anything that would lead us to, you know, would lead it to do that. So at this stage, we're pretty sure it must have just been a corrupt file. We're pretty sure when Rex flashed, obviously, the fix in for the transient, it must have done something. It must have corrupted something in the actual tune file, in the encryption or something, and it was corrupt file doing it. But Rex has reflashed it since, and it's not doing that now. And now the cold start's fine, everything's right. So that's where we're at with it. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow on Friday, Rex just wants to chuck this on the dyno just to give it a bit of a health check, just to run it up, make sure it's all good, and then it'll be off to power play. So potentially both these cars go on a power play. It's going to be up to the customer with that ute. At this stage, I definitely won't be going down, so sorry if you missed me down there. Rex, I think, is still going to head down, but with all this moving house and stuff going on, we've just got too much to do. There's too much happening, so I just unfortunately can't get away for the day. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. I don't have the time, so I will not be going. Righto, what's up, guys? I can't apologize enough for this video basically being just all over the place because of how crazy the week leading up has been. So anyway, obviously Rex and I, neither of us ended up making it to power play. The owner of the blue ute came, picked it up. I'm pretty sure he went and took it down just on low boost, which should have been fine. I haven't talked to him yet. Rex played around with the purple tonner. He made a new intake for it because, as you guys know from the last tune we did, that airbox was a pretty big restriction. So Rex actually made a new 4-inch intake and put a 4-inch pod filter on it and stuff, and got it pretty much ready to go. He didn't get time to actually run it back up on the dyno. He pretty much got it sorted at like, yeah, whatever time it was on Friday afternoon.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. Basically, the customer, the owner of the car, was pretty much ready to load up and go. So, unfortunately,
he had two cars to load up.
Yeah, unfortunately, didn't get to run it back up on the dyno. But one thing Rex was saying is that even when we did the testing, when we got rid of the airbox, we're pretty sure we left the silicon coupler on the end of the throttle body on the blower, and the throttle body is a good 4-inch on the throttle body. And the end of the coupler's obviously your 3.5 or whatever the size of the airbox is. So it's still a little bit of a restriction. So we are pretty keen to see what that thing will do with that full 4-inch intake with the pod filter in some nice cold air, because the day we dynoed it was hot as. We're pretty keen to see whether that thing will actually get pretty close to 700.
That's pretty much, I did want to say it, but I'm thinking that it has the potential to go pretty close in this nice cold
weather. Big 4-inch. Anyway, we'll get there another day. But that customer with that thing, he just had an absolute ball. He had an absolutely awesome time. He reckons the thing is just a menace. It was off tap. So it was awesome to get some feedback from that and actually have it go to an event and do some driving. Mechanically, it was problem free. Didn't have any issues. He did have some issues with his brake setup. Sort of ran out of brakes a few times there, but he's running 295s on that thing, and he reckons he just smashed it in second gear and it just lights the tyres. He knocks it into top gear and it'll just fry tyres for as long as he wants to. So pretty wild setup. Very cool. So anyway, that's those. We'll move on to this clubby. We'll get stuck into that this week. This was meant to happen last week, but because of the issues we had with the blue ute, that didn't quite get there. So the owner of the blue ute, he's pretty keen to basically get the clutch sorted out, and then he's going to bring it back to us. We're going to sort out the fuel system and get that thing finished off, and we're pretty confident that we should see pretty much 600 horsepower at that 11 to 12 pounds. So anyway, all cool stuff to look forward to. Righto, guys, so cracking along with this thing. Unfortunately, I've sort of got to a point where we're out of the Deutsch plugs that I require. So I'm going to need to make a bit of an order of some Bosch plugs, which is going to push this out again until next week, which sucks. But anyway, it is what it is. So the reason being is that obviously to wire in a fair few things through the firewall in order to try and keep it nice and neat and tidy and simple and professional. What I did was basically make my own little sub loom, which I've coiled up here, of just the wires that I needed from all of the things that we're wiring inside in one sheathed sub loom to go through the firewall. And then basically inside from there, I'll break it out into all the different things that we want to wire in. And out in the engine bay here, I'll break it out into where it needs to go out here. But obviously it just makes it a lot easier to get through the firewall, and it just makes it way neater. But it means all of the little pre-built little looms that all this stuff comes with are all going to have to get modified and changed. So it's, to do things like this properly, neatly, and nicely, it is actually very, very time consuming. But anyway, so these wires all come through the firewall. So that's just a little sub loom. It's all we needed to get through the firewall. Here it breaks out, and it's going to break out into this little Deutsch plug for the gauges. There'll be another little Deutsch plug for the boost controller, and then another little Deutsch plug for the actual ethanol gauge, ethanol display gauge, ethanol percentage gauge. So the thing is though, basically the owners said that if we can't get the flex fuel to work, or if the flex fuel's not gonna work properly, just tune it on straight E85. And if we do have to go that way, I'm not even sure that he will want to put the E80, like the ethanol percentage gauge in the car. So we may not even need to do anything with these ones. They might end up just wired up, and they can just be spare wires through the firewall, which can always be handy.
If he's already got it though, and he plans on running E85, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to wire it in anyway. That's
what I was thinking. Is he may want it either way, just so he just knows. Yeah, just in case he gets a bad batch and it's got hardly any ethanol in it. So Rex at the moment is just sorting out wiring the actual flex fuel sensor to the ECU, so that the ECU can at least see it. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it because it's going to be nice and neat and very professional looking. So these are just inside. I've got to get ignition, battery positive, a common earth, and an illumination wire. And they just, like I said, break out into all of the different things that we want to wire it inside. Everything's going to be nice and neatly tucked away and nice and neatly run. So righto, guys. So we've got the clubby inside. It's on the rollers. So we got the bung for the oxygen sensor for the wideband in the dump pipe last week, but due to having to actually bust us to finish off the Shady 80 because it was getting picked up, unfortunately this thing sort of just had to sit on the back burner for last week. But it's in here today. Now that that's in there, all we got to do is get the sensor in and complete our wiring inside, which all of the new Deutsch plugs that I wanted to get have arrived for that, so we can finish off the wiring and then start running this thing up and have a look. So most important thing, like we have been saying, is basically to get it running again, get the new injectors in, and for now is just to start running it up and see how we go with boost control. Make sure the boost control works. We still have to plumb in all the boost control as well. We've got to take the front housing off and put a nipple on it and stuff for a reference. So there's still a little bit of that stuff to do, but at the moment, we just want to see how it's going to go with boost control. We'll make sure it's going to control boost first. And then if that's going to be okay, well then we'll worry about going flex fuel and seeing if the E85 works and everything else. So, all right, so this is how this is going. We're getting through it. We are getting through it, but frigged me sideways. What a job. Huge job in actuality. So Rex has got pretty much all the interior pulled apart. Trying to get the ethanol content gauge down to where the owner wanted it in front of the shifter. Yeah, just to do this properly, it's just such a freaking huge job. So much bigger than you think. Righto, guys, so while I'm waiting for some wiring stuff, which Rex is using, I thought I'd jump in and get these injectors swapped over. So, bit of a rant here, guys, but anyway. Injectors that the customer supplied with the car. They appear to be Bosch genuine injectors, which is all well and good. Now, I'm not sure where he bought these from. I'm not sure where they actually came from, but there's 8 injectors here, right? You can have a look at this. We've got one yellow, 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 yellow. Go over this side, yellow, red, red, red. So this is not a matched set. These Bosch matches these. They have 3 different colors based on how much they flow. And when you're buying sets of injectors like these, you should, at the very least, if the person you're buying them from isn't gonna dynamically flow match themselves and sell you a dynamically flow matched set, they should at the very least sell you a set that's flow matched that is batched at least the same. So the fact that we've got 3 red and 5 yellow, so that's a Padlin. I'm not sure where he bought them from, but that's a Padlin. But secondly, honestly, is even just the setup. So they're the short body, long pintle type Bosch injectors. So we've got an extension on the bottom to bring the pintle back. But then there's also got to be a spacer on the top to make it a full length type, which now, if you can see on these rails, the spacer for the top actually hits the step in the rail. And as you can see, trying to tighten them down, it's either catching on the top and trying to compress the injector too much, or it's pushing their adapter across to one side. And this is on the top is the pressure side. You know, that's the high pressure side where fuel's going to be. So basically what I'm getting at is, I'm not sure where he got these injectors from, but I know I sound like a broken record, but please buy your injectors from someone who knows what they're doing. Buy your injectors from a reputable dealer that deals injectors for a performance-based application. You know, if you bought from someone like Jay there at Brisbane Fuel Injection Services, you would not get an odd, you know, you get ones that are batched the same. And honestly, a 20-second chat with someone like us or someone like him who, you know, sort of knows what's going on would avoid this whole situation. Anyway, I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but as tuners, injectors are so incredibly important. It's so important that they're right. And, you know, we don't particularly like having all these spacers and joiners and stuff in injectors. There are plenty of injectors on the market that are a full body injector that would suit the application fine without all the extra crap to go with it. All right, so I managed to get all the top spacers to all sit the same height against the step. So they're a bit of a, I don't know, there's a bit of a kick in it, I suppose you'd say. But I managed to get all of the wire keepers in and on properly. So pretty happy to just see how these go in that way. None of the injectors are getting compressed too hard. They've just got that weird dog leg in them. But if any of these leak, I think we'll just go as far as just pulling these out and putting another set of injectors in it rather than going through and modifying the rail. Dollars for labor versus just dollars for a new set of injectors sort of thing. We're better off doing that. It'd be more comfortable to do that. So we'll see how these ones go first. We've got our Raceworks 2-bar map sensor in ready to go, and I've teed off for the instrument panel so that we can have our reference for our e-boost controller, or our boost controller and the boost gauge inside. So that's where that'll go, and this can go back on. And then we'll finally be ready to start firing this thing up and seeing how it goes. All right, guys, so you can see how we've got all this set up with it all in the car now. That's our reference that we put in the front housing. These go up to our Mac valve, which is up there. Happy days there. However, we do have an issue. It is as I feared with these injectors and this rail. As you can see, we've got fuel everywhere out of the number 4 injector just there. So, all right, so at the moment it looks like it's literally only number 4 injector. It looks like the other 7 are okay. So it seems more likely that it's an issue with an O-ring or something for that particular cylinder. So I'll pull this rail off and we'll just have a look. Righto, guys, so I did find a pinched damaged O-ring. So replace that O-ring, and so far so good. So I'll just be watching these like a hawk. Rightio, guys, so Rex persisted with it a bit, managed to get the boost under control, basically. So this green run, that second run we did, where we thought it was going to be game over, it wasn't going to do it, Rex decided just to throw 2 more degrees at it. It didn't have much timing in it, so threw a few degrees at it to see if it would bring boost down, and it did. Flatten out this curve a bit, and just allowing it to run out. It's just where it plateaus and stops. It stops building boost there at about 11 pound, which is fine. We're happy to run this thing at 11 pound. So that's with the reference hooked straight to the gate. We took the boost controller completely out of the system just to see whether it would actually do boost control at all. But it seems pretty happy there, so That's awesome. That's a really good result. So we're just hooking up the boost controller now. So we'll hook the boost controller up, see what it does just through the boost controller at 0 duty cycle. Hopefully...
Well, the GFB says that its minimum is 10.
Oh, we'll see what it does at 10% duty cycle on the boost controller. Hopefully it's still fine and controllable. Something that we can, you know, deal with on 98, because obviously it's no good having the flex and then wanting to put more boost in the flex if, you know, you can't actually have the boost controller hooked up at all on the 98. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we can afford to go probably a little bit more boost, even on the 98. It's pretty happy where it is, like at that 11 pound. There's no knocking. It's not doing anything funny, Rex reckons. It's taking timing, it's making power, it's doing everything it should do. So I really hope it works, because I really, really like this car, which makes me a bit biased, but also just, I really like the car, and also having a flex fueled Gen 3 PCM'd turbo Commodore getting around with our name on it, I'd be pretty stoked with, because I still don't think a lot of people know that it is even possible, let alone, like, I don't think there's that many people that have actually done it. So I hope that we can get it sorted and it works, because this is such a cool car.
They don't even realise that the E38 is perfectly capable of...
Yeah. Yeah, even the, like, some people, yeah, a lot of people don't even understand the E38 can, let alone the fact that it did from factory. So yeah, it is funny, but yeah, yeah, if we can get the Gen 3 to do it, that'll just be a cool one to have in the portfolio, especially this car. I really friggin' like it. Righto guys, so having the boost control hooked up made no difference to the actual boost pressure, which is freaking awesome. That means that this thing is going to do everything we need it to do from here. Should do anyway. Shouldn't hopefully run away when we start doing E85, and there's probably a little bit more exhaust gas, but hey, we'll find out. So we probably won't push it much harder on the 98. I don't think there's not really any need to. So yeah, so we'll leave that boost setting for 98, tune that boost setting for 98. As you see, 491, so probably end up, yeah, around that 500 wheel on the 98 at that boost. And we'll chuck some E85 in it. Hopefully the flex fuel modelling on the Gen 3 all works and everything works out for the flex, and then we can have a bit of a spicier boost setting on the boost controller for the E85, the flex fuel. So, looking forward to it. So that'll be tomorrow. As you can see, it's getting dark, so see how we go tomorrow. What I'm actually going to do, guys, is leave you on a cliffhanger. I'm going to be that guy. So obviously this video was meant to just be all these boosted LSs that we were doing, these 3 boosted cars. Obviously the first one I was in and out because of moving, and I apologize, so that was pretty much a fall on its face. The second one, the supercharged tonner, I wasn't even here. We didn't even get to run it up on the dyno, so that sort of fell on its face as well. And then this thing, honestly, sort of deserves a video all on its own when it comes to the actual flex fuel of the Gen 3 PCM. So I'm going to leave this video here. I'm sorry that the first 2 were a bit of a balls up, and obviously you saw a little bit of work that went into this thing, but I'm going to make a separate video, I think, tomorrow based on the actual Gen 3 PCM flex fuel tuning of this car and getting it sorted. So thanks for watching this one, guys. I know it's probably already too long, and it ended up obviously dragging out over a lot more weeks than I expected. These 3 boosted cars were all meant to be done in the same week. Then the ute blew out a few days because of the problems we had with that, which meant that we were really pushed on time with the tonner because we also had to move in that week. And then this thing ended up being a bit more work than we anticipated, getting these gauges and everything sorted. And then we had to finish the 80 series, so that pushed it back another week. So we had to wait for the wideband the week before that. So it ended up being pushed back a few weeks, this thing. But stoked to see it getting sorted. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're looking forward to the next one where we'll get this thing hopefully flex fuel tuned. If not, the owners basically said if we can't get it right on the flex, just to tune it on straight E85. So either way, in the next episode, you're going to be able to see what this thing is actually going to do on the E85. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.